Georgia Southern's J.C. French heading into the transfer portal. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, we will get to Coastal Carolina falling flat in the second half in the Independence Bowl. La Tech's first win in the Sun Belt. And New Year's Eve day, Sun Belt hoops. All right, as far as the hoops go, and we'll get to Georgia Southern J.C. French here in a second, we will have an episode on Thursday, as the case may be. All right, whether it drops first thing in the morning, you may have to wait. We got basketball going through, ending by about 6 p.m. Eastern time, but we may do dinner and festivities. I don't go out all that much. New Year's Eve for amateurs. I'm a pro. But we'll definitely have one. It just may, well, you're going to be the ones who are sleeping in. I probably won't sleep in that much. So the point is, I will have a recap of what happens on Wednesday, today, in all the basketball games. Okay. So that will happen on Thursday for sure. And then, of course, Friday, we may have multiple episodes with the transfer portal opening up. Okay. Having said that, to nobody's surprise, really, and we had some added information, J.C. French into the transfer portal for Georgia Southern. J.C. French is a Georgia Southern graduate. Been a starting quarterback for the last couple of years. And I'm not quite sure he has reached his potential. Played extremely well in, especially the second half in the ball game. Georgia Southern beats App State 29-10. He goes out with a sweep of App State. Probably never going to buy another adult beverage or meal in Statesboro again. So he's got that going for him. But we'll see where a guy like J.C. French opens up. Statistically, really close to the 24 season. These numbers are rather similar, to be honest with you. In 2024, 65.5% completion percentage. 2025, almost 64%. All right. This year, over 2,900 yards. Last year, 2,800 yards. He threw for 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this year. So he improved on that. He was 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions last year. Let's see what he rushed for. It's got a pretty, his rating is almost 140, whatever that means. Rushing, he ran 133 times, 315 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So he had a pretty solid year. Got off to a bad start. Kind of got a couple of wins. One over Jacksonville State was pretty good. And then played really poorly. Not him specifically, but the team. And then they won 4 out of their last 5. Isn't that what I got? Right? They won 4 out of their last 5. Right? Yeah, they did. They beat App State, beat Coastal, lost to ODU, beat Marshall on the road just to get to a bowl game. And then they beat App State for the second time. In about 5 weeks. So this will be really interesting. He'll be a good case study to see when the music stops, if he's got a place to play. Because obviously he'd have a place to play. And, they just finished up. I don't think this is any big news. It may be news to the rest of us, but I doubt it's news to Georgia Southern. And he may come back. We'll see how that works out. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised to see this, and maybe he's heading to, is it Oklahoma State? Is it where the North Texas QB decided he's going to East Carolina, I believe. Drew Mestemaker, I think he's going to East Carolina. I'm sorry, Drew, Mr. Baker Haas. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his name. That's my fault. But he had an amazing, he's got an amazing story. He's a walk-on. He finished with 4,300 yards. With all due respect, it feels like he could do better than ECU. I don't know. I thought I saw that. Maybe not. All right. No, it is Mr. Maker. Thamel had it wrong. So let's see, because some of these guys are going to go quickly. And, I mean, you have some big-time quarterbacks. Here you go, Hayes Fawcett. All right. You have some big-time quarterbacks. Sam Levitt, Drew Messamaker, Byron Brown, Josh Hoover, although the nephew is telling me Hoover's coming here to Louisville. Dylan Raiola, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, DJ Lagway, Kenny Minchie from Notre Dame, Rocco Beck from Iowa State, and Alex Mensky, also from Iowa State. I'm not sure how Iowa State can have two of the top quarterbacks, but that's according to On 3. All right, Hayes Fawcett does the graphics. All right, and so it'll be interesting to see where, like, we got a lot of quarterbacks in the transfer portal from the Sun Belt. We could go through. I'll go through that. I did, according to Jeremy Harper, Howell Racer, there are currently 143 players in the Sun Belt transfer portal. All right, heading out, and that includes, three quarterbacks for App State. Right, Matthew Wilson is supposed to be in there. He played in the bowl game. J.J. Cole and A.J. Swan. Arkansas State, Jalen Rayner is in there. Georgia State's T.J. Finley is in there. Now Georgia Southern's J.C. French is in there. Alonzo Barnett III is in there. All right, Colton Joseph is in there. I think Southern Miss had some guys in there. So there's 143 players from the Sun Belt going in. And a lot of these guys, you see this from who knows who I'm following. And, following them for you, sometimes I'm not on the right one. But you see it, and people are suggesting that some guys have taken their last snap and just don't know it yet. Because the music's going to stop, and they're not going to have a place to go. Someone suggested to me everybody should just become free agents, and that's not the way anybody wants it to work. Because if everybody becomes free agent, guess what? The demand is way down, and the supply is way up. I would rephrase that. The demand is there, but the supply is way up. That's why you don't have free agent. That's why it's not all free agents every year in the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball. It is here in college football, and that's got to stop somewhere along the way. I believe Charlie Baker suggested that some of these players are not going to be eligible. The basketball players are pro players. Well, seems like they do things on a irregular basis over there at the NCAA, so we'll see what happens there. But the big story is J.C. French, and hopefully it works out. Right, I generally speaking, rooting for everybody. All right, hopefully he gets a little bit of money. Here's the difference between this year and last year. If the same rules were in effect this year, all right, or same rules last year as this year, Gio Lopez would have been the quarterback at South Alabama. By the time Bill Belichick came calling, it was too late. This is the only transfer portal coming out. So there's no post-spring football transfer portal. No, not without special circumstances, of course. Things that's a fluid situation, as you might say. So wishing J.C. French the best. Would not be surprised if he comes back. We'll see what's out there. I certainly don't have a problem with checking to see if you can get some money. I'm not sure J.C. French is a pro quarterback, so if he can go get a little bit of cash, help out the family, help out himself, right? We're all talking about these $1 million things, but boy, $50, $100, $250,000 can go a long way to set yourself up in life. And if he graduated college in three plus years, that's impressive. Do we have that? I don't know. I always thought he was a true junior, but I could be wrong. He's only played 3 years, 2023, 2024, 2025. He could have, a redshirt year for 2023. So we shall see where J.C. French ends up. All right. Coastal Carolina falls flat in the second half in Shreveport at the Independence Bowl. We'll talk about that right after I tell you about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during happy hour always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's shopping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Little basketball, little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Please let me know, and I'll check it as well, if the audio is okay. Should be fine. It was overmodulated probably for a couple of days, but it should be working okay now. And I appreciate the people who care enough to let me know. All right, we certainly don't take that as personal criticism. That's professional criticism and common courtesy. All right, Coastal Carolina taking on La Tech, basically a home game for Louisiana Tech. And Coastal Carolina had a really good first half, but they fall in the second half and lose 23-14. I did catch the end of the ball game, and boy, they just did not want to run the football at all. That could be because Coastal Carolina had 44 yards. They also had, this was a sloppy ball game, 14 penalties, 115 yards for Coastal Carolina. Louisiana Tech, 11 penalties, 113 yards. Were those guys paid by commission? What is going on here? Because usually, and pay attention, and we saw some lack of pass interference calls in the NFL. All right, towards the end of the ball game, Rams game against the Falcons. The deeper you go into the playoffs, the less calls you get. A lot of times during the Super Bowl, there'd be like 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. That was our first penalty. Oh, no kidding. Going to let them play now. That's what happens. Because the refs, when it's the Super Bowl, the refs don't want to be the show. They want the game to be the show. What a shock. So pay attention in some of these college football playoff games. They may be able to get away with a little bit more. But that would be both teams. It's not single, just one team. These penalties in this ball game was even-ish. But Coastal Carolina got off to a good start, but could not do anything in the second half. They did miss a field goal to begin their possession. They punted away. Then they scored a touchdown. And then they scored a touchdown to end the second quarter for the most part. All right. Right before the end of the second quarter. All right. In the first half. So it is 14-3 at halftime. Yes. Okay. Here are Coastal Carolina's second half possessions. All right. 3 plays, -1 yard, lasted a minute. They fumbled on 1 play after 5 yards, lasted 3 seconds. They missed a field goal after an 8-play, 72-yard drive, not great, 3 minutes, 05. Punt after 5 plays, 15 yards, minute 49. Punt after 3 plays, -15 yards, minute 48. So a couple of 2-minute drives. Interception, 2 plays, -1 yard, 37 seconds. Punt, downs, interception. Not great. Can we see? Let's see if the comparison for halves, right? So in the first half, Coastal Carolina led 14-3, 248 yards to 104. They had 194 passing yards to 45. In the second half, Coastal Carolina put up a total of 107 yards to La Tech's 191. They had -10 yards rushing in the second half. So they had a total of 107 yards, 117 pass yards, which are minusing 10 because of the rush yards. 107 yards after almost putting up 250 yards. There you go. They did have 3 turnovers in the second half. They had a fumble, and interception was at the end where they were in no position. They were just trying to get a first down. But I hadn't been paying attention to the stats, and La Tech ends up taking a 20-14 lead, and they're just not running the football at all. And you look at the stats, and you see why. In fact, they forced a fumble. They got the ball back and still didn't run the football. They just kept on passing the football. Tad Hudson didn't have such an awful game. Let's see what he had in the first half. In the first half, listen to these numbers. 15 out of 21, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 194. That's awesome. Second half, not so much. 10 out of 28, 2 interceptions, 117. So the tale of two halves. And Tad Hudson always seems to be the sacrificial lamb for Coastal Carolina in the bowl game. But we'll see what Ryan Beard is going to do. Obviously, he wasn't coaching today. But he didn't go back to Missouri State, right? He didn't go back there. So he's been in Coastal Carolina trying to get guys to stay. They've only put a couple of guys into the portal, but we'll see what happens over the next few days. Coastal Carolina has 3 guys in the portal. Let's see. It is Joseph Hansen, offensive tackle, Zach Cody, quarterback, and Nick Del Grande. All right. From Jersey. We'll see what happened, where he goes. He went to media days this year. So we'll see if the new coach can keep him in Conway. All right. But so again, kind of an uneven season for Coastal Carolina. In fact, they finished poorly, right? Because they were off to a good start. They had a shot. They actually had a shot at competing for that division, right? At one point in time. Let's see here. They started out 2-3, 2-4, but then they won 4 in a row. But then they lost to Georgia Southern, they lost to South Carolina, and they lost to James Madison. And that's and that Georgia Southern ball game was a crazy ball game. All right. But then they got blown out by South Carolina, and James Madison did a number on them. So they were right there for a little bit and fell by the wayside at the end of the season. So Coastal Carolina finished at 6-7. They were 6-3 at one point in time. All right, we do have a pretty good slate of Sunbelt basketball later today, and that's what we're going to be doing during most of the afternoon, is watching these ball games before festivities get underway for a New Year's Eve. We'll talk about that, the schedule coming up right after I tell you about Game Time. There's nothing like college football season. Tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Gametime gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. If you've been following it on social media, you can get some really good tickets for very affordable prices for the college football playoffs as of right now. The app is incredibly easy to use. I went from browsing to buying tickets in just a couple of minutes. I love being able to see the view from my seat before buying, so I know exactly what I'm getting. The zone deal stood out. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save even more. Seeing college football tickets starting as low as $25 made it easy to plan a game day trip. Knowing prices include all fees up front makes the whole process stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Locked on College. Download the Gametime app today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt. Your teams every day. I believe we have a half a slate. I guess technically more if there's 14 teams. 8 are playing. But let's go over the standings. Let me see if I can pull up the standings here just to show you where we are. Overall, Arkansas State and Georgia Southern both 2-0. In the conference. Arkansas State 10-4, Georgia Southern's 10-5, but I feel like they've won 7 in a row. Yeah, they beat James Madison and Georgia State. That James Madison was a good basketball game, 96-92. All right, but they have reeled off 7 in a row. We will get to them a little bit later. They play on Thursday, actually. All right. Troy is 1-0. South Alabama 1-1. They had an incredible comeback win against ULM, but blew it against Texas State, who had a nice comeback. South Alabama 10-4 overall. App State is 1-1. They're 8-6 overall. Coastal Carolina 1-1. Texas State 1-1. Southern Miss 1-1. Georgia State, despite being 4-10, they're 1-1. ODU 4-10. They're 1-1. The Cajuns are 3-11. They're 1-1. They have won 2 in a row. Cajuns going for 3 straight later today. Marshall is 0-1, 8-5 overall. JMU really disappointing. They're the ones picked to win the conference. They're 0-2. They're 7-7. Monroe is 0-2. They are 3-11. All right, so we do have at least some rivalry ball games. We'll see how good they end up being. South Alabama is a banged-up basketball team. We'll see who is raring to go on this afternoon, 12 noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. South Alabama taking on the Cajuns. So South Alabama is actually starting the Sun Belt. Is that 4 games on the road? Because they probably have Southern Miss. They got Troy. So they started Monroe, Texas State, the Cajuns, and Troy. That's a big ball. I mean, these are big ball games right away for South Alabama. And we'll see if they can get healthy and recover from some illnesses. All right, so that's the first game, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central Time. All right, Texas State and Troy. All right. This ball game is in Troy. It's 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Troy 8-5, 1-0 in the Sun Belt. Texas State 8-6, 1-1 in the Sun Belt. They're coming off that nice come-from-behind win over South Alabama. All right, we'll see how that goes. By the way, this is amazing. All right, this is, again, maybe because you got guys banged up. South Alabama is a 3.5-point favorite against the Cajuns. That's it. That's insanity. That makes no sense to me outside of the guys that may be out. That may be a big part of it. All right. And Troy is 9.5-point favorites at home. All right. I understand South Alabama's on the road. You still think it would be like 6 or 7 or something like that, 8 or 9. Maybe that's a lot, but we'll see if South Alabama can score. That's the thing about the Cajuns. You don't have to score all that much. All right. You get into the 70s, you're going to beat the Cajuns. Have the Cajuns scored 70 this year? They beat Monroe 76-62. That's it. That's it. They've scored in the 40s twice. They've scored in the 50s 1, 2, 3, 4 times. In fact, they've scored in the 40s 3 times. So, again, score 70 points against the Cajuns, you're going to be in good shape. Now, let's see what South Alabama is. I don't have their stats here. Let me see what it says. South Alabama scores 75.6 points a game. But that's with everybody. All right. Let's see here. Yeah. When they lost, they scored 72 against UAB. They lost against Eastern Tennessee. I think that's when Peyton Law got hurt. So they only scored 65. They did lose to North Texas 58-57. Beat Monroe 96-92. That's double overtime. Lost to Texas State 67-65 and beat Mobile 85-52. So maybe a different basketball team with some injuries and illnesses. So we'll see how that is, because obviously they haven't scored as much lately as they had before. The Monroe game is an aberration as it did go into double overtime. All right. Still tough to believe that the Cajuns are 3.5-point underdogs at home. Should be much more than that, you would think, but I was wrong last time I started talking about that. Old Dominion taking on App State, also 2 p.m. Eastern time. That is in Norfolk. Old Dominion 2.5-point favorites at home. Old Dominion 4-10. 1-1 in the Sun Belt. App State 8-6. 1-1 in the Sun Belt. A little bit of a big ball game. App State had a nice win against Coastal Carolina, but then lost to Georgia State 70-63. Ouch. Not great. Speaking of Georgia State, they're in Marshall. They're in Huntington. Georgia State 4-10, 1-1 in the Sun Belt. Marshall 8-5, 0-1 in the Sun Belt. Marshall's won 3 out of 4. They lost a tough ball game against Troy, but they beat Western Kentucky 77-61. They beat Wright State 76-74. Lost to Troy 70-63, and then blew out West Virginia Tech. They get 2 games here. They get Georgia State and App State. So we'll see where this is. And obviously we got the other 6 teams are playing on Thursday. Well, actually only 4 teams. Am I counting wrong? So someone's not playing that round. All right. Because on Saturday, you should have 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So can we figure out who's not playing these games? I don't know. You got Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, and Monroe. I got only 4 games. All right. I'm not going to waste time trying to figure that one out. But anyways, a couple of teams are off and not playing Wednesday or Thursday. All right. Wishing everybody a Happy New Year. Again, we will have an episode. I will recap the ball games on Wednesday for Thursday, and then we'll preview Thursday's ball games. And anybody and everybody who is going to the transfer portal will try to do as good a job as we can on Friday. The benefit of having a staycation, we get to do it all. All right. Again, let me see where we were with I don't know if we gained any subscribers today, but again, I did some numbers actually. I can tell you that. All right, because I'm going to let the people know up front who I report to how well we have done. And this was coming into today. All right. So we didn't get any subscribers today. 2,853. Still over 1,000 for the year. All right. Let me see if I got it here. And subscriptions up 30%. Total views. So that's videos, shorts, and a couple of live things, up 271%. And impressions are up 176%. I can't thank you guys enough We went from 1.4 million in 2024 to 3.9 million in 2025. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And again, we'll do basketball. We got the portal. We reached out. We didn't hear it back. People may be on vacations. Certainly going to be busy on Friday. But we'll see if we can get the coaches on early this year early this upcoming season. And then baseball is like 6-7 weeks away. So we'll be all over that as well. All right. Please be safe Wednesday and Thursday. All right. Have a good time, and we'll see you again shortly. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Thanks again, folks. Talk to you again soon.